Hi everyone, it's Tammy with Shabby Fabrics. I have such a fun project for you today. I loved playing the game I Spy when my kids were little. We do it a lot in the car because a drive is always boring. They're looking out the windows, and so I'm driving, so I would try to spy something fun for them to look for as it's going past. Well, we decided an I Spy quilt out of this amazing fabric called Curated in Color. This is such a fun collection. Let me show you one of these pieces. This is the yellow one. Look at all these amazing things on this. There's birds and hands and faces and signs and words. So if your kids are a little bit older and still like the game I Spy, they can now find words and actually spell words on the fabric. I think that's really cool. So I'm going to show you today how we fussy cut this and how I created the I Spy quilt. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start with a piece of fabric, and I'm going to use a Creative Grids 3.5 by 3.5 inch square. The blocks I'm cutting are 3.5, and it's really nice to have the exact size that you're cutting something when you're fussy cutting. So the other thing I'm going to show you when I'm fussy cutting this is there is a bullseye straight in the center of this ruler marked with the white lines. You'll see them on either side, and then the circle in the center. That is the exact center of this ruler. So that's a nice feature. All right, so let's say I want to take the number 275 here with these two flowers. And I'm just going to lay this ruler on here and slide it back and forth until I get it to where I want it. And I'm paying attention to my 1/4 inch seam allowance on all 4 sides, right? Make sure your ruler's straight. Now I'm going to take a friction pen and I'm just going to trace around the outside of this like this. Okay. The reason that I'm tracing this instead of just simply cutting it is I need to make sure I can get 18 to 20 of these out of each one of these fat quarters. So as you're going along, you just need to keep that in mind. Let's take the vase. I'm going to trace a few of these for you just to show you. And then we'll cut them using the spinning mat. See, that's cool. That the number's 349 each. I like that. So I can get that right here. See, I'm under this. I'm on this side of this one. My numbers are pretty close to center. And I can get that. There we go. Moving on down. If I'm in this area, I need to grab something. I like this Tux Post. These are postage stamps right here. I think that's cool. Stamps are nice. I used to collect stamps. Here we go. All right, you get the idea. So you can see my squares are just kind of bounce around. All right, so when you have the correct number, you can take a rotary cutter and you can actually rough cut this out. And I'm just going to rough cut this out like this. And then one more time like this. Okay, so now I'm reducing my fabric. Instead of a large piece of fabric, now I just have a small piece that I'm going to be fussy cutting. So I'm going to use a Creative Grid spinning mat. I'm going to place this on here right where I had it. Now, if you still want to make a slight adjustment, you still can. You just know how close you are to all of the others. I think I'm still good with that position. So let's make a cut, spin the mat, cut, spin. This spinning mat just makes this so simple, just like that. And there's our first block. Okay, so you'd go all the way around and cut all your squares. All right, set this aside. All right, so the next thing we have to do is we're going to snowball the corners. So we're using a black fabric. I like using solid black fabric, especially in our kits, because then you don't have a right side and a wrong side. That's important. It makes it very easy. You're not always constantly wondering, is this the right side or the wrong side? Doesn't matter. So there's several ways that you can snowball a corner. This is just basic sew and flip. We can do that. So I'm going to place this on here. Now normally I would mark that with a friction pen, except it's black. Different colors, the friction pens do come in different colors, but I couldn't find one that actually showed up. So I went to a Clover water-soluble pencil. This is a very nice option. Package of 3, you've got blue, white, and pink. Pick your favorite. I like the pink one. It works great. So I'm going to take a ruler and place this corner to corner and mark, just like that. Okay. Let's put a little pin in this right here. All right, so now that one's ready to sew. Let's look at the next one. Let's say I don't want to sit here and draw lines on a giant stack of squares. That does get a little tedious. So instead, you could use a corner clipper. The folded corner clipper by Creative Grids. This is a very good tool to use. This is a good time saver. So I'm going to mark, these are 1 1/4 inches. So the mark for 1 1/4 is right here, right below the 1 1 1/4 inch square. I'm going to line that dashed line up with the bottom of my square, and this little dashed line is lined up with the bottom corner. This is lined up here. This is lined up here. I know I'm good to cut. So I can go ahead, trim this ahead of time, just like that. And again, I'm going to put a small pin in this. Just like that. Okay, let's go sew these two. All right, so once we have those sewn, now I need to trim this one. I can do that with a small ruler, like this. Now I'm going to press. And I'm just heating up that seam, set your seam, and then pushing with my fingers, open, and press again. So I'm pressing towards the black, just like that. All right? All right, now I do have one other method for you. This is called the Cluck Cluck Sew Diagonal Seam Tape. This is an amazing product. I have this installed on my machine, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my corner on my fabric, just like this, and we are going to put a little pin in it to hang on to it, just like that. And I'm actually going to pin 2 of these because I want to show you how cool this is. So I'm going to go sew a couple of these like this. All right, here we go. All right, so now I'm going to line this up. The first corner where I want to start is this one. So when I want to start here, I'm going to line this up with my needle. This corner is going to line up with the red line. The Cluck Cluck Sew tape, the red line is tracking exactly where the needle is sewing. This is a 1/4 inch to the left of it. This black line is a 1/4 inch to the right. This is very amazing tape. So if you need to draw a line and sew a 1/4 inch on either side, use the Cluck Cluck Sew tape. It's perfect. You're just going to track your square here, and you're sewing a 1/4 inch on this side of it. If I put it here, I'm sewing a 1/4 inch on the other side. If I put it in the middle, I'm sewing directly down the center of that square. That is just amazing. Such a time saver. All right, so I line up that square with my needle. This point is lined up exactly on the red line. Now, as I start to sew, I'm going to sew slowly. You will see I'm tracking this all the way up. I'm just going to guide that fabric and go right up, and right off we go. Let's do that again. Now you can also make this tape go up higher. You could actually put that tape almost to right here, right before it's going to hit your feed dogs. I think your feed dogs might tear it up or it might get tangled into your machine. You can actually put that tape all the way up to here, and then your line is there for you to track. Just like that. So when I have done that with that Cluck Cluck Sew tape, I want to double check that these are correct, right? I don't know for a fact that they are. I haven't pre-cut them. I haven't drawn the line. Let's make sure that I did that right. So to do that, I simply flip these squares over and press before I trim. What I'm looking for is I want these squares to lay exactly on top of each other. You see how that works? It looks really good to me. Okay, so now that I see that that's right, I will go ahead and trim that away. There it is. Just like that. Okay, and that's how we have our first square. Now when you have a bunch of these to sew, I would recommend chain piecing these so that you have them all chain pieced together like this. And that is simply what I did. I had a stack of squares next to me and I just started running them through and spin my chain around and just keep on going all in a big circle. Okay, now that they're all hooked together and ready to go, I'm going to show you how to use a blade saver. This is a 45mm blade saver. This is really a very clever tool. The flower comes out. This is where your blade goes, and there's a screw in here that comes with a screwdriver right here to open this up and change the blade. So your old rotary cutter blades will actually get reused. I love that. There's magnets in here which attach to these magnets. Keep it together securely. And I just set the blade right down in there. You can turn it. If your blade starts to get dull in one point, just give it a little turn. All right, so let me show you how this works. So I turn my blade saver and I'm just gonna simply go. You see how quickly and easily this cuts. This, you know, when you're fussing around with a pair of scissors, it's difficult. This is super easy, super simple. Okay, so let's take a look now. We have a couple put together here. I've done that ahead of time. So you're just going to take your sashing, place your sashing in between and sew. And I did press these toward the sashing. When you build your cornerstones, you're going to press that again towards your sashing, so everything will nest together and this quilt will go right together. That's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed this, picked up a couple of tips on how to do quick and easy sew and flip corners. I'll see you again on another Shabby Fabrics tutorial.